Spotify, the biggest music streaming service globally, is facing financial challenges despite its massive popularity. Their way of doing business isn't working well. They've made some not-so-great decisions, like spending $1 billion on podcasts that didn't work out, raising subscription prices, and even letting go of many employees. Let's explore why Spotify is having a tough time. Before Spotify came along, music piracy was widespread. People used platforms like LimeWire and Napster to illegally download and share music files. The music industry struggled to stop this. Thankfully, in 2006, Spotify was created to tackle piracy. It provided a free version with a limited music selection, making it as convenient as piracy. The key difference was that artists got paid for each stream, helping to fight against illegal downloads. Spotify's free version lets users enjoy unlimited music on their computer but comes with occasional ads. To support this freemium model, Spotify encourages users to upgrade to a premium subscription for an ad-free experience. As a legal alternative to piracy, Spotify needed to get licenses from major labels like Sony, Universal, and Warner. They agreed to pay a significant amount, either $200 million or 75% of their total revenue, whichever was more, to access the vast music catalogs. While this was a win for users who got access to a wide range of music without paying per song, it posed a challenge for Spotify, as they had to cover the costs of this access. So, if Spotify makes $1 billion in a year, a significant chunk, let's say $750 million, goes to the big three labels. Not only does Spotify have to pay to access the music catalog, but they also have ongoing costs for each stream, paying rights holders a fraction. As of 2023, when users pay for streaming, and the cost structure is quite high, Spotify ends up paying artists around 0.3 to 0.5 cents per stream on average. This roughly translates to a 70-30 split, 70% to the rights holders and 30% to Spotify. After covering operational expenses and salaries, there's little left for profit. The financial dynamics are pretty tight. The royalties, which are payments for using the music, go to the rights holders no matter how many times a song is streamed. So, the more songs people stream, the more Spotify has to pay. Some argue that the amount paid per stream to artists is quite low, especially considering Spotify's reputation for being the platform that pays artists the least. Despite having a massive user base of over 551 million monthly active users, with 220 million being premium subscribers, the amount flowing in is substantial, while only a small fraction is going out to the artists. It's a situation that raises concerns about fairness in the music industry. Since its launch in 2006, Spotify has paid close to $10 billion in royalties and turned a profit for the first time in 2019. Let's compare this with Netflix, which also operates on a pay-to-play model. Netflix invests heavily upfront in producing its own shows and movies, covering costs like actors, directors, and editors. Once these productions are released, Netflix doesn't have to continuously spend money on them. While there are instances where they acquire content from others, the majority of the money they make from their original content goes back into their pockets. The more you watch their shows and movies, the happier they are, as it increases the likelihood of you promoting their service, upgrading your subscription, and tolerating any price changes. It's a different financial dynamic compared to Spotify. Spotify pays money for every song you listen to, and the more you listen, the more they have to pay. Unlike Netflix, Spotify doesn't make its own exclusive content. So, they're always spending money on royalties. Even though they've made a profit, they haven't found a way to make a lot more money like Netflix does with its original shows and movies. That's the main challenge for Spotify. Apple has always been a big player in the podcasting world, while Spotify only got into podcasts in 2015. At first, Spotify didn't focus much on podcasts until 2019. Then, they saw how popular podcasts were becoming and decided to invest a whopping $1 billion to become a major player. It was a smart move because about 33% of Americans now listen to podcasts weekly, which is the highest it's ever been. Worldwide, monthly podcast downloads went up from 111 million to 125 million. Also, people who listen to podcasts are often younger and have more money compared to consumers of other types of media. The podcasting business is booming with advertising money, especially since 30% of listeners are aged between 12 to 24, and almost half of them earn over $75,000 annually. Seeing this growth opportunity, Spotify, which already had a big podcast audience, wanted to do even more. In 2019, they set aside up to $500 million to buy other podcast companies. They spent $400 million of that to acquire Parcast, Gimlet, and Anchor. Then, they made big deals with well-known people like the Obamas, Kardashians, Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and the world's top podcaster, Joe Rogan. They went all in, spending up to $250,000 on each episode and around $290 million on podcast studios to attract new listeners worldwide. In simple terms, Spotify aims to be the top platform for podcasts. They've invested more in podcasting than any other company globally. But, despite gaining more subscribers and having some successes, they haven't hit a major breakthrough yet. The huge investment has made some people wonder if it was a wise move for Spotify. The big question is whether the bet on the podcasting industry will pay off in the way they hoped. The podcasting world is still a small part of the digital advertising market, expected to reach $2.3 billion this year. Despite more people listening to podcasts, there's a flood of shows on different platforms, making it tough for new hits to stand out. This situation has affected Spotify's finances. Some of their big acquisitions, like Meghan Markle's podcast, didn't last long, and the Obamas moved on to join Amazon's Audible. To cope, Spotify had to let go of hundreds of employees from the podcasting studios they bought, reducing production and merging them into the new Spotify studios. Spotify had big hopes that their podcasting gamble would pay off, but it turns out their customers weren't as into it as they thought. While they made podcasting more popular, it also opened the door for other platforms to benefit. In hindsight, Spotify might have gone a bit overboard on exclusive content spending, but at least they did become a well-known platform for podcasts. This year, Spotify expects podcast ad revenue to grow by 30%, surpassing its overall revenue growth. As podcasts continue to evolve, Spotify aims to operate somewhat like YouTube, selling ads alongside creator content and sharing the revenue. They also plan to leverage their extensive user database to display relevant ads to users. The Spotify Audience Network allows advertisers to target specific groups of listeners for more effective advertising. However, this is a long-term goal, and currently, their podcasting bet hasn't paid off as expected. In fact, it has led to challenges, including laying off around 2% of their workforce and increasing the price of their core subscriptions by $1 to $199 per month. In summary, Spotify has faced financial challenges despite trying different strategies, like heavy investments in podcasts. The outcomes haven't always met expectations, but they're persistently working to strike a balance between making money and keeping customers satisfied. The music and podcasting industry is always changing, and Spotify needs to keep adapting to stay ahead. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content in the future. Thanks for watching.